So this sutta is actually, you can say, famous. Beside the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the second famous one will be Anattalakkhana. In terms of Buddha's discourse preached by the Buddha, is considered number 2. Because after the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of view, the Buddha, some Kondanya became Sotapanna. Then after that, they one by one, the 5 bhikkhus meditate. Then finally, when they are ready, the Buddha preached this Anattalakkhana Sutta, the characteristic of non-self, not self, to help them to become Arahant. So you can see the introduction. The Buddha was staying at Varanasi in the deer park in Isipatana. Now, this Migadaye. Migadaye, as I mentioned before, is actually Miga, beside the word deer. It actually refers to 4-legged animals. So it's actually, it's a animal-centric. Because you cannot be only have deer, there will be other animals. So it's a place where Isi is a hermit, where the hermit landing down. Patana is a place where the hermit literally means falling down. It's a place where ascetic practice. It's animal-centric. So but the Buddha was in Varanasi. And in Pali called this English or now the modern term Varanasi. So at that time, the Buddha addressed a group of 5 monks. Okay, so I go through this sutta first. Now, the Buddha direct with the introduction. Rupam anatta. The form is not self. For if form were self, it wouldn't lead to affliction, abada. And you can compare form. Means you can command it. May my form be like this. May it not be like this. So you can see the Pali hotu. May it like this. And may it not like this. So we can think about the logic. If the form... Now, the Buddha, this is we call it introduction. Introduction means the Buddha make a statement. The Buddha say the form... Now we are talking about 5 aggregates, all right? So we have the body, feeling, and others. The Buddha start with something that we know. That's our body, or you can see the body others. The form is not self. That's a introduction and the statement. Now we can think about that. If the form is self, this means that we consider if we possess the form or this body belong to us, or we can control the body, then why will it lead to affliction? Right? If it's leading our body belong to us, all the parts of body belong to us, then it will not lead to suffering. Then we can command the form, can command the body. Let the body be this, let the body be that. So you can see the body is the Buddha is saying this as a logic. But because the form, the body is not self, that's why it leads to affliction. Yasmako bhikkhave rupa anatta, because the body is non-self. That's why it leads to abada. It leads to affliction, leads to pain, suffering. So we cannot compare the form. We cannot command it. May the form be like this, may the form not be like this. And then the Buddha followed by the feeling, then the perception, then the sankhara, then the vijnana. And then the Pali is actually exact same. So for each aggregate, the Buddha asked the question, is it belong to self? Is actually non-self, and so on. Then after that, the form, what do you think, bhikkhave? If the form nicca or anicca, permanent or impermanent. So earlier part, the Buddha made a statement. So from this part onward, the Buddha actually want their wisdom to arise. So it's actually asked the monk this question for them to really consider it in detail. So is the rupa, the form, our body, Nicca or anicca, permanent or impermanent. Then they say anicca bante is impermanent. So, but if it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? What is anicca? Is it dukkha or sukha? Dukkha bante, suffering. Now we can think about it. So let's say our body will be anicca. This means that our body will change from healthy body to sick body. We have aging and so on. So this body is anicca. That's why it is dukkha, suffering. And then the monks confirm themselves is suffering. Then the Buddha asked the question, what is impermanent, anicca? What is suffering, dukkha? And viparinama means perishable or subject to change. So is it fit to be regarded thus? Kalamnutam panos samanupasitum. Etam mama esohamasmi esome atta. So this means that those are anicca, dukkha. Can you take it as belong to this self, belong to atta? No, no hetam bande. No bande, no, they answer the Buddha, no. So then the question continue with feeling, perception, and sankhara, and so on. Okay. After that, then it made a statement like this. Okay. So this is a sutta that I just kind of like revise again. So it starts with the introduction, the place take place at the Varanasi, where the bhikkhus, the 5 monks, they approach the Buddha, and then the Buddha teach them after the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. So the purpose is for helping them to become arahant. First, the Buddha made a statement, the body, the rupa is anatta. And then ask them to consider will it lead to affliction or not, right? And then after that, with the 5 aggregates and so on. Now, the significant thing will be this part. This is really help the monks to increase the wisdom. Like we mentioned in the Wisdom Marga class yesterday, if you want to be good in vipassana, you must purposely arouse the wisdom in your mind. So this part, the Buddha helping the monks to arouse their wisdom. So then the Buddha asks, Rupa, if the body, is it nicca, anicca, permanent, impermanent? Right? Then the monk, they answer, yes, it's impermanent. Whatever impermanent, the Buddha said, is it suffering? Yes, it's suffering. What is impermanent and suffering? Is it I or my? So the Buddhas, the disciples say no, right? So this means that we must know whatever is impermanent and suffering, we cannot take it as self. So by this way, the monks, they get rid of the idea of self. They understand the 5 aggregates are non-self at all, right? Okay. Then the Buddha asked them, whatever in the past, present, future, internal, external, far and near, you should see this as netam mama, not mine. Ne haso hasmi, not I am not this. Na meso atta, this not myself. So should see with the right understanding, yada buddha. And then so on. This means that in all these we call it the few ways of see past, present, future, internal, external, solid, subtle, inferior, superior, far, and near. Means all the rupa, all the feeling, all perception, we should see as non-self. So after that, then the disciple, they disillusioned with form. Means that they will not have any craving on the form, no craving for the feeling, no craving for the perception, no craving for sankhara, no craving for the consciousness. And then the desire faded away. So they are free. Then rebirth has ended. When come to this statement, rebirth has ended, hinajati means that we know they become arahant. So Wusitam Brahmacharya, the Brahmacharya, their spiritual journey is completed. They done what has to be done. Katam karniyam. Okay. So by this, the 5 monks, they approve of the Buddha. So you can see after when the discourse was being spoken, so when the Buddha preached this sutta, the monks, they meditate at the same time. And then their minds were freed from defilement by no grasping. Okay, so by this sutta, they become Arahant. Now, this sutta is significant. Okay, I sent to you this document today. Why is it significant? Because it's a very powerful sutta. And it's actually, when we see in terms of the lifetime of the Buddha, we can consider those sutta very, very important one, like Dhammacakkappavattana is the very first sutta. And then the Mahaparinibbana Sutta is the one before the Buddha passed away, attained Mahaparinibbana. So all these are very interesting and very important. So this is the second sutta. I sent to you all by today already. So it's the second sutta preached by the Buddha. The first one is the Dhammacakkappavattana. In terms of sequence, in the Tipitaka, it's the third one, because Hemawata Sutta is the second. Hemawata Sutta is the kind of like verses or discussion between two deities about the qualities of Buddha. So it's not so famous, yeah, because it's not on it's not so much on meditation. It's much more if you are really want to have faith on the Buddha, so you can read this. I put the link there. It's actually quite interesting to read. Yeah. And Mahasi Sayadaw, he preached one discourse on this Hemawata Sutta in Burmese, and people translated it into English. So you can find on internet Mahasi Sayadaw Hemawata Sutta. Now, so first we need to know the meaning of non-self, anatta. It's a not atta, non-self, non-soul. Now, in Buddhism, only in Buddhism, we have this idea of non-self, non-soul. Other religion, you can say, beside Buddhism, other religion, they always have the idea of self or soul. In fact, when we talk about religion, it means that people believe in God, believe in soul. Those without religion is those never believe in God. Okay, those are another one. So most religion will have this idea of soul or self. Now, people believe atta. What is atta? Atta is permanent, unchangeable. It's something that entity that not change. It's something that stay inside the body. Right? And it believe that it's created by the God. It's coming from this divine essence. It's like what you say, like the God create us, like in Christian idea, right? So then the God create us, and then we go to the earth, and then after that, one day we will unite with the God. Or Hinduism is there's a big atta. So after we pass away, our idea is for us we want to reunite with this big atta. So anyway, the idea of atta is something exists in us, either in the five aggregates or one of the aggregates. We might take it as permanent. It's not changed. It's solid, right? So that's why we need to study Anattalakkhana Sutta and to understand the Lakkhana. Now, when we use the word Anattalakkhana, Anatta is non-self. Lakkhana is, what is Lakkhana? Lakkhana means characteristic. So normally we have the word Tilakkhana, three characteristics. So there's anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent, suffering, non-self. So we call it the three characteristics of life. Like just now in the Sutta, the Buddha asked, is the form, is it permanent or non-permanent? Is those permanent, is it can lead to suffering, dukkha? And those who are impermanent and suffering, can they be said as anatta? Can they be said as atta? All right? So those are anicca, dukkha, we cannot say they are atta. So in fact, they are anatta, non-self. So that's the idea of why we want to learn about atta. Okay? If you don't understand about atta, you don't understand what is anatta. To understand about anatta, you must understand what is atta. Okay? You all clear about this part, right? Can I? If you want to understand about anatta, you must understand what is atta. All right? Now, what is atta? Atta means something in us or something that link with our five aggregates or something that we take as inside the body or part of the body is unchangeable, created by God, or after we pass away, we want to unite with the whoever. There's in Christian, they want to unite with their God. Hinduism, they want to unite with the Brahma. So that's the other religion. But in Buddhism, we are talking about anatta. So in Buddhism, we do not have the idea of self. Of course, in many sutta, the Buddha will say, okay, when somebody passed away, he reborn as Deva. When somebody passed away, he reborn as Brahma. When somebody passed away, he reborn as like hungry ghosts, all right? So when we use the word, like we call it self or soul, okay. When you use the word self or soul, that's we call it the common language. Okay. Self or soul in Dharma. So this is we call it a conventional language because everybody we use a common word, all right? Common words to talk with others. So in Dharma, of course, we are talking about their self, their soul, there's somebody here, somebody pass away, go here and there. But in Buddhism, we have in Dharma, we have only anicca, dukkha, anatta, non-self. So we don't have self in the Dharma. Okay, this point, is it clear before I continue? Okay, clear. All right. So you must know what is atta. That's important. If you don't understand about atta, you cannot practice anatta. So this is the basic, but it also make the mind less confusion. Because if people ask you what is atta, you must say, okay, atta is something solid in us, and we believe that after we pass away, we unite with the God, we unite the Brahma. So that's atta. Now, question, all right? So we get this from the background or story. So I get this from one of the book. It's called Chronicle of Buddhas. It's actually interesting. In the Sixth Buddhist Council, so the questioner is Mahasi Sayadaw. Answer will be the first Tipitaka Dwara. Vichitta, Sayadaw, Vichitta, Abhivamsa. Abhivamsa is a title because they take one of the very difficult exam. So it's Abhivamsa. So his name is Vichitta Sara. So it's a book written by him and then translated by many learned Burmese into English. So this book mentioned that. So this is Dhammacakka. So the first sutta, Dhammacakka Sutta, turning of veil, was preached at the full moon of Asaha, and thus becoming a Sotapanna. So Venerable Anyasi Kondanya. So his name actually Kondanya, but because when he becomes Sotapanna, so he's called Anyasi. Anyasi means somebody who knew, somebody who know the Dhamma. So that's why his name is called Anyasi Kondanya. And then he asked Buddha to for the step of bhikkhu. Then the Buddha was in the Megadaya, and then foreigner. So he remained there without going for alms round. He giving instruction to Wapatera, and then the remaining 4 months go for alms round. So Wapatera becomes Sotapanna the morning of the that very day. So after that, giving instruction. So the next person, Badiya, Mahanama, Asaji, and then they attain up to Sotapatipala. Sotapatipala is the first level enlightenment, all right? And then they become Ehi Bhikkhu, means that when the Ehi Bhikkhu is a kind of ordination. So when the Buddha say come, Ehi means is a imperative mode, means come monk. When the Buddha say come monk, so they automatically they change the appearance of monk with robes and bows and so on. Now after that, now you can see different day, 2, 2nd, 3rd, and of the 5th waning moon. Waning moon is like the full moon, then I'm not sure what is waning moon. All right. Anyway, the 5th waning moon of the month of Asaha, the Buddha delivered the sermon called Anattalakkhana Sutta in order that the 5 bhikkhus might become arahant with all the asava, kangers, meaning all the defilements. So when the Anattalakkhana Sutta came to the end, the group of 5 bhikkhus became Arahant. So this sutta helped them to become Arahant, because before that they only reached to the stage of Sotapadhi. Now the question is, if they already become enlightened as a first stream entry, why do they still need to practice about non-self? Because when we say, if somebody attend the Sotapadhi, they already get rid of this. At the first stage of enlightenment, there's a Sotapadhi Megaphala. They already get rid of the personality belief. This means that they will not cling to the idea of self. Then they also get rid of doubts on the Dhamma, the Triple Gem, and any meditation. All right. They also will not cling to these mere rules and lecture. Like we said yesterday, I say this is actually wrong practice. Like worshiping the fire, become cow, or practice as a cow. Now, in the first stage of enlightenment, they already get rid of this. This means that they already get rid of the idea of self. But why is it they still need to practice up to practice up to arahantship to listen to Anattalakkhana? Okay. Then there are some terms about this one, right? These are some extra point. Okay. Right. So, question for discussion. They already eradicate the 3 factors. Personality. This means that they already eradicate this sakayaditi. Means that means that they get rid of clinging to self and soul. There is a wrong view on self regarding the 5 aggregates, mind and matter, as self, soul, mind, or mind thing. But why is it they still need to listen to Anattalakkhana Sutta? Why? First, there are many reasons. They have not achieved the higher level of path and fusion. This means that the second, the third, and Arahant. And another reason is they still have fetters, they still have defilements. All right. Even though they have get rid of the idea of self and soul, but they still have this conceit. We call it I conceit, asmi mana. Because even though they are enlightened being, they still have the conceit, thinking that I'm a good imitation and noble person. That means that some little bit defilement still there. It's a very subtle defilement. It's like somebody, after you put alcohol in a bottle, you can wash the bottle. The bottle is clean, but there are a little bit subtle smell of alcohol. That's the meaning. Okay. So up to this point, are you all clear about this? Any question? All right. So that's the reason why, even though they already reduce or get rid of the clinging to self, but they still have little bit, it's a very, very little bit, this kind of conceit. And they need to purify the mind up to arahantship. And also, now, when we practice, of course, we can start with Namarupa. But why is it we need to practice the 5 aggregates? What's the difference? When you practice the Namarupa, yes, you get rid of the idea of self and soul, but you might cling to one of the aggregate as self. So that's why the Buddha in the Anattalakkhana Sutta will preach Rupa, then Vedana one by one. Like just now in the Sutta, in the Sutta, the Buddha preached the Sutta. So start with the form, then because like this, then the monks they will know that the form, the rupa, is not self. Then the Buddha preached the feeling, perception, sankhara, consciousness. So when the Buddha preached like this one by one, so the mind of the bhikkhu who are listening to Dhamma, they have the time to get rid of the attachment to self one by one. Okay? Because if they just practice on Namarupa, it's actually too general. That's the reason the monks need to practice one by one and one by one on the 5 aggregates to get rid of any remaining conceit on any of them and any remaining defilement. Okay. Now, according to another book, Buddha and Teaching, paragraph 73. So the so-called being is composed of these 5 aggregates. Outside these 5, there is no being. If one removes the aggregates, nothing remains. Also abides neither in any group or aggregate, nor in any of them or outside them. Right. Now, why? Because people sometimes they cling to one aggregate. Sometimes they cling to all aggregate. Sometimes they cling in. Sometimes they think that the soul, the self, might be outside the 5 aggregate. Can you follow? Some people cling the self or soul to one aggregate. Some people cling to all aggregates. Some people cling the self or soul as outside aggregate. Right? So that's why the Buddha need to preach the Anattalakkhana to make sure that the bhikkhus do not have defilement to even any of the aggregates. Okay, point number 2. The Buddha makes the same assertion as above in connection with each of the 4 remaining component parts of the so-called being. The Buddha raises similar queries with regard to each of other constituents of beings. Okay. All right. So how should we contemplate the 5 aggregates? Now, this in many sutta is said like this. Our rupa materiality is like a lump of foam. It's like bubble, you know. For example, you go to stream or whatever, you can see the bubble come out. It composed of 8 bubbles. It's like entrapped with the droplets of water. It's like our body. From far it look very solid, okay. But when you go closer, it's like small, mini things like this. So like that's why we use our eye of wisdom, go and see the each part of the rupa, 32 body parts, even the 32 parts, but you have to use, if you are very good with concentration, try to see all the kalapa, the unit of matter. So it's like many things put together, like this foam, a lump of foam. Now feeling is like bubbles. Bubble is like bubbles is something that come out, then it disappear. Come out, it disappear. So our feeling, sometimes good feeling, it appear, it disappear very fast. Then bad feeling also appear and disappear very fast. So feeling is just a kind of like impermanence. Now sanya is mirage. So it's like mirage is sometimes you go to a desert from far because of due some circumstances, you see like oasis, you see a water, but when you go there, it disappear. So it kind of like dream. So perception give us a fake idea. For example, you see something moving around. Okay, you thought it's a ghost, but actually it's just a tree moving around. So the perception is like mirage. And then formation, remember Chetasika, we have 50, right? So we have a 50 Chetasika. So it's like plantain is kind of like banana. So if you see a banana tree, when you cut it, it's like one layer, right? So it's like formations is we have 50 Chetasika. It look very solid, but when you open up, it's belong to one layer of trees. It's a many of them. So when you cut open, there's no solid core. So when you like, for example, you go to banana, when you cut open the banana, from far the banana look very solid. But when you cut open, you cannot find a solid hardwood there. So that's a mental formation. So vijnana will be like a illusion, right? So when you see something, you will say, when you see somebody see a man, you will say, oh, I see it. This is a man, this is a woman. So it gives a kind of like magic show. In, when you see a man or woman, it's not a man or woman, it's just a sound. It's just a somebody, it belong to this namarupa. So that's how we should see it according to this simile. All right. Okay. So I think I will stop here. Just today, just want to share to you about the Anattalakkhana Sutta and the important for you to know what is atta and what is anatta. Anybody want to ask something? Anybody want to ask something? I sent this document to you already, so you all can print out, right? Now, the main thing is why we need to know five aggregates. So for us not to cling to any of them as atta. That's the meaning. Of course, if we practice namarupa, it's actually quite enough. But sometimes we might cling to the feeling as atta, perception as atta, body as atta, even consciousness, like we mentioned, the six aggregates, six sense consciousness in a recent mother class. We might cling. Eye consciousness is I see. Ear consciousness is I hear. Smelling consciousness, no, nose consciousness means I smell. Or sometimes with your like greedy mind or whatever, you will say, I am feeling greedy. Or with the hatred mind, then you will have the idea of I am feeling anger. But actually, hatred mind is hatred mind. All right. If no question, we will stop here. So we will practice by ourselves, right? So you can choose any meditation you like, and then we will do sharing minutes later. Okay. So we can start now, meditation.